Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Overnight, Bitcoin dropped below $30,000 for the first time since July of last year. For more on this, let's welcome in Yahoo Finance crypto reporter David Hollerith. David.
Brian, it's been tough out there for a crypto investor. So Bitcoin briefly crossed below $30,000 last night. It has recovered since. It's sort of dangling just below $32,000, still at its lowest point since July 2021. Ether also bottomed out in a similar period. It's trading around $2,420 per coin. Things aren't looking good. From the OTC desks I've spoken with, there's actually been a flurry of buying demand in the last 24 hours. And that's mainly been in Bitcoin, Ether, and the stable coins Tether and Terra USD, which is another smaller stable coin I'll get into a little bit. So what I've heard from the desk is that they've had 5 times the average daily volume they typically see. Now, the important thing to remember here is that it doesn't necessarily mean that we're seeing sort of a recovery of the market. I mean, we could be at this point, but really what this means is OTC desks are sort of sophisticated trading outfits that mainly cater to institutional investors, not retail traders. So what's going on right now is that a lot of institutions are taking advantage of all this volatility, and they're sort of getting in on one side or the other of the trade. That being said, they've sort of reported that there's been sort of a surging expectation for downside in May and June. Open interest in Bitcoin and Ether puts or shorts to borrow the cryptocurrencies and sort of sell them at a cheaper amount are quite high, approaching the highest level year to date, or to be sort of expire in May and June. So things aren't necessarily looking bright yet. And then also in stable coins, as I had mentioned, Terra UST, it's a smaller subset of stable coins that has sort of risen to prominence because it guarantees a lending yield that's much higher, magnitudes higher than a savings bank account. It has since the weekend, it has begun to depeg from its one-to-one value with the U.S. dollar, and that's looked like trouble. So Terra is because it's used as such a strong lending asset. It's connected to a lot of derivatives trades. So a lot of market participants, while they haven't really figured it out yet, think that a lot of the downside, some part of the downside from Monday had to do with Terra's USDT's loss in value and how it's impacted, these derivative trades we're seeing on both sides.
And so, David, I mean, clearly we're not hearing or feeling the Bahama breeze in your voice this week as compared to a couple weeks back. But if you look forward from here and the prospects for Bitcoin, for cryptocurrency, where should people be placing a lot of their attention, especially as we're keeping track of some of the publicly traded entities that are also either custodians in nature or are holding Bitcoin on their balance sheets?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not going to offer financial advice, and I definitely won't say that these stocks are cheap or something like that, because it's really hard to tell how far the market's going to go given the dynamics. But I think that the overhanging thing besides the macroeconomic uncertainty, which is obviously looks poor for the next couple of months for cryptocurrencies, the overhanging thing is regulation. And how, particularly in the U.S., laws can be passed so that institutional investors could potentially get into the asset class. When I was in the Bahamas, sort of the story was there were a lot of very large institutional investors who were there. They were exploring what the crypto sector has to offer. But in a large part, they cannot put their money into the asset class at this point outside of, venture investments. That's sort of why we're seeing such high venture investments still. So we really, have to wait on our hands sort of until we see something like more laws being passed, which obviously that's dictated by the congressional circus, if you will.
And maybe we have to wait for rates to stop going up also. And if that's what we're waiting for, that's also going to take a little time, perhaps. David Hollerith, thank you so much. Appreciate it.